We slid, we soared, we crashed, we scoffed, we battled. Skydiving, surfing, swimming, bumper cars, laser tag. We tried it all, because that's the kind of family holiday that we love, together. This is what it's really like to cruise on Odyssey of the Seas as a family.
Cruise family!
2 cabins, about 16 suitcases, and zero idea if our kids were going to love it or hate it. Kids can be unpredictable, and we were not 100% sure our 3 children, Lacey, Kyron and Myla, would enjoy this type of holiday as much as we do. Time to find out. If they don't, we can always just leave them home alone next time. We arrived at the port of Civitavecchia, and after a fairly quick and hassle-free journey through security and passport control, we were on board. The kids were absolutely astonished at how big Odyssey of the Seas actually is. This is a big ship, holding up to 5,500 passengers. There are 16 decks, and when the North Star observation deck is fully erect, it's one of the tallest cruise ships in the world. First things first though, let's have a look at our cabins. And yes, that is plural. Cruising with a family of 5 usually means 2 cabins, and as Odyssey of the Seas frustratingly doesn't have any 5-berth cabins, this was one of those occasions. My wife and 2 daughters had this spacious outside view cabin with the massive incredible porthole style window. I'd chosen this spacious cabin deliberately so we'd have plenty of room when we all hung out together. My son and I were saving money by having an inside cabin, which we hardly spent any time in at all. Both cabins had loads of storage and a really nice shower. The beds were comfy enough. We'd left the airport hotel in England at 4 AM this morning and were all feeling famished. So when we spotted El Loco Fresh next to the pool, it was nachos time.
Nacho man.
Unfortunately, I didn't film it because I was too busy eating and it didn't touch the sides. It was very delicious though. We spent the next hour exploring the ship, taking everything in. There's so much to see on a ship this size. There were some important things we needed to do as well, like signing up to the kids clubs and collecting our pre-purchased drinks cups. We'd bought the soda beverage package for all 3 of them and were delighted to see that the Coca-Cola self-service machines had a special caffeine-free menu. The last thing these maniacs need is more energy. I had my traditional first drink of the holidays, pina colada. Since we'd stuffed ourselves with late afternoon nachos, we skipped a formal sit-down dinner and headed straight for the Windjammer buffet, and it was a big one with plenty of choice. After the mandatory washy-washy, we dove into our Hogwarts feast. Our kids eat pretty much anything, but don't worry, even if your kids are fussy eaters, they could happily survive on pizza and chips all week in here. We were all super tired after the meal, but decided we could withhold sleep a few more hours and go to the theatre to see the comedy juggler. I'm glad we did because he was absolutely amazing, somehow managing to juggle and balance all sorts of things while the ship was in motion. He was hilarious too, but we were all kind of laugh yawning by the end of his show, so time to hit the hay. The first full day on the ship was a sea day. Sea days are my favourite, especially at the start of the cruise. I like to spend some time getting used to the ship, the layout, trying all the activities. Odyssey of the Seas is a fairly new ship as well. It only had its maiden voyage in 2021. First order of the day though was breakfast. We turned up at the main dining room only to find it wasn't open until 9 AM and would be serving a reduced brunch menu until 1 PM, so no lunch menu. I must admit, erratic opening hours would become a bit of a theme of this particular cruise and not something we enjoyed. Breakfast opening hours ranged from 7 AM on some days to 10 AM on others. But at this point we were unaware of that, so after relocating back to the Windjammer again, for a quick breakfast, we put our heads together to discuss what to do first. The kids were very excited about trying Adventure Ocean. Adventure Ocean is Royal Caribbean's kids club and is split across 2 decks. One for ages 6 months to 6 years and the other for ages 6 to 12, which luckily all 3 of my children fell into. Once you cross into 13 and above, you belong to the Teenage Club Social 180, which has their own section of the ship. That's a nightmare for another year though. Sarah and I dropped them off with a friendly looking staff and headed off to the solarium, which is the adults only pool area, to sit with a coffee and quietly watch the ship sail between Italy and Sicily. Beautiful views. Before we knew it, it was time to collect the kids and get some lunch. They had really enjoyed the kids club, where they'd played a dodgeball style game, computer games, dancing and a bunch of other things, making some friends along the way. We had lunch at Cafe at 270, which I'd never seen before on a Royal Caribbean ship. It's a sandwich and small bites cafe and immediately became my favourite lunch eatery on ship. I particularly enjoyed the bacon and blue cheese toasted sandwich. The blue cheese was really strong and smelly, which meant I wasn't getting many kisses after eating one of those. The pool deck was in full swing by this point, so we went for a swim to cool down. And cooling down was really needed as well, because outside it was very hot. In fact, the weather for the whole cruise ranged from "damn it's hot" all the way to "how do people live like this?" A strange thing I noticed was that the pool deck had loads of these spiky plants. An odd choice in a place where most people are half naked. I got stabbed more than once. Another of the things my children were most excited about on this holiday was the Flow Rider surfing simulator, a staple of Royal Caribbean ships. Living in the north of England, they had never surfed before, but always overly confident and eager to give it a go. I was impressed by the effort from all of them, an excellent first attempt. It was now hotter than the inside of a McDonald's apple pie, so my daughter Myla and I headed for some shade and enjoyed a Family Fortune style game show in the 270 theatre, followed by a silent disco, where my other two kids, Kyron and Lacey, joined me. Some enjoyed the dancing more than others. Tonight was formal night, and we all got dressed up in our smartest clothes and headed to the main dining room on deck 3 for the early sitting. I loved these video walls outside the restaurant. Sarah, Myla and Kyron had all gone for French onion soup. Lacey had chosen a tartlet, which was nicer than she thought it was going to be. I ordered the snails and set about trying to convince everyone else to try some. My son found it the hardest, especially after taking the mad decision to immediately try and wash it down with lemonade. For mains, we all headed in different directions. I had a pie, Ron had chicken tenders, Myla and Lacey opted for risotto, and Sarah had the linguine. All were delicious. Desserts were delicious as well, and our waiters looked after us brilliantly. We wanted for nothing. The show in the main theatre was one of the best I've ever seen on any ship, not just Royal Caribbean. It was called The Effectors and was essentially a superhero show, but incorporated state-of-the-art sound and light technology and even a drone show. Really fantastic entertainment and a great way to finish up an amazing day. It wasn't, however, the absolute best day we had on ship. That was still to come. A cruise holiday isn't only about the ship though. It's also about waking up every day in a new destination. Today's destination was Santorini in Greece. It's a small island, and as another ship was already using the only port, we needed to tender to the island. Tendering is taking a smaller boat from the ship to the port. Each boat can only hold a relatively small number of people, so it can take some time to get everyone off the ship and back on again. We had booked an independent tour to visit a volcano and swim in some volcanic hot springs. Fantastic experience. We arrived back hot and physically tired. Well, I was anyway. So that evening we chose to hang out in the pool area. This is one of my favourite memories of this holiday. Sarah and I relaxing in the hot tub with a cocktail and the kids playing in eyesight in the main pool. There were a lot of children on board this cruise, being as it was in the school holidays. And there was a real mix of nationalities as well, which was lovely for the kids to experience. The next day was Kusadasi in Turkey. The kids chose to spend the day in the kids club, Adventure Ocean, so Sarah and I ventured out on our own. One of the things I really like about Royal Caribbean is that you can do this. You can go off explore, knowing your kids are safe and, let's be honest, probably having much more fun than if you dragged them with you. Kusadasi itself was nice enough, but there's no way the kids would have enjoyed the packed, very pushy bazaar, or the castle, or the walking. Definitely better off in Adventure Ocean. We weren't the only ship in the port. The Norwegian Getaway was docked next to us. Norwegian's definitely on my cruise to-do list. Back on board that afternoon, we collected 3 very excited children who'd had a brilliant time at Adventure Ocean. Then we headed to the Bionic Bar, the one where robot arms make your drinks. Sarah and I had done this on previous cruises, but the kids had never seen it before, so they were really excited. Non-alcoholic drinks are included in the deluxe package we'd bought, so the kids took turns creating drinks on the touchscreen. First they made one for us, thankfully quite nice. Then they all went full mad scientist on their own concoctions. It was hilarious watching them pretend they liked the taste of their drinks. We'd seen the ingredients, and there's no way they could have tasted good. That evening in the main theatre it was a singer, who was entertaining enough, but it didn't stand out as much as the rest of the things we'd already watched on board. Next up, Mykonos in Greece, known for its narrow white and blue streets. It was beautiful and very windy. We took the sea taxi, yes that's a thing, into the old town and had a wander and demolished some massive ice creams. The wind was very strong, but honestly it was a relief from the scorched earth sun we'd had for the last few days. Once back on ship, we took a bravery pill and allowed the children to go off on their own for a while. At this point we all knew the layout of the ship, and we had explained the places they could go and the places they couldn't go. They are 9, 10 and 11 years old and normally well behaved, so we put our trust in them and released them. They had rushed off to the arcade and we decided to do similar, the adults arcade, the casino. We quite enjoy playing the slot machines on holiday, although I don't think we've ever spent more than about £20 each. On my second spin I won 40, moved over to a different machine and won another 30, and then my first spin on the third machine netted me another 75. The slot gods were smiling on me. Before I could feed all of my winnings back into the machine, my son appeared and asked if he could do a climbing wall session that was advertised in the cruise compass. So I took him over as it needed adult supervision. Sadly, it was too windy to climb up the wall, so they had to do sideways climbs instead, which wasn't quite the same. But fair enough, health and safety and all that. That evening, we went to see Gold Art Duo, one of the absolute highlights of the cruise. They combined dance, acrobatics and comedy. Really spectacular stuff. To be honest, all of the entertainment on board had been top notch. It's something Royal Caribbean genuinely excels at. We had a big day coming up. It was the final sea day of the holiday. Not the final day, as tomorrow we're in Naples, but the final sea day. And we had booked ourselves into everything. Quick question, what's the best way to start your day? Easy, 8 AM indoor skydiving. We were given a safety briefing and instructions on how to communicate once inside the big wind tube. Then we put on jumpsuits and headed out and in. I was called on first, being the biggest person, and I think I mostly got the hang of it. And one by one, we all had a minute inside the big wind tube tunnel. What do you call it? A fellow passenger was kind enough to film us all. This was a taster session and free. Well, not exactly free, but it's included in the price of the cruise. We were now officially the most awake people on the ship, so we went to the music hall venue to try our hands at the cartoon quiz. We did respectively well, but the questions were definitely aimed at an American audience, making it tricky for our British brains. Next, we went back to the Flowrider for a children's session. The Flowrider is great, and most new ships have 2 of them because it's so popular. If I could change one thing about it though, it's that when queuing, there isn't any shade, and that means you can get very hot whilst waiting. Next, we headed to the Seaplex as we were booked into bumper cars. And to everyone's delight, it was actually called bumper cars, not dodgems. Health and safety be damned. They whizzed around attacking each other with the vehicles, hell-bent on destruction. Again, there was no additional charge for this. The Seaplex is the main indoor kids area on board. There's a proper high-tech arcade, gaming tables, table tennis, and the giant multi-use arena, which as the name suggests, has multiple uses. We'd done bumper cars in here, but we weren't done yet. We finally stopped for the first time all day and had lunch in the main dining room, still only serving brunch. But no rest for the wicked. After we'd finished eating, we headed straight back to the Seaplex for a kids' football competition. I resisted the urge to be the dad that shouts tactics from the sidelines. It didn't matter though, as despite the age and height differences, after 4 matches, their team emerged victorious. What an incredible day. And it wasn't anywhere near finished. We had booked a trip on the North Star observation arm. This lifts you up in a giant hamster ball above the ship and offers the best views. If you book and pay extra on a sea day, the arm goes out and over the side of the ship too. But we had chosen the free experience, so we just went up and down, which was fine by me. Back on the ground, we returned to the Seaplex again, which had now transformed into a laser tag arena. We were kitted out in futuristic equipment and then assigned teams. Lacey and I were on the same team, and then the rest of the family were on the opposite team. I was then systematically hunted down and attacked for the following 15 minutes by the rest of my family.
Pit down, take it on heavy losses. I'm getting shot from everywhere. I think it's my own children shooting me. I need to go berserk.
We needed something more relaxing at this point, and Adventure Ocean were advertising a science show. It was the classic volcano experiment, which, much to everyone's delight, hit the ceiling. When we cruise, we don't tend to do the speciality restaurants. The main dining is enough for us. However, on our 10-year wedding anniversary Caribbean cruise, we tried Wonderland and absolutely loved it. Wonderland is Royal Caribbean's imaginative molecular dining experience. We decided it was time to let the kids experience it too, so we splashed out. Wonderland is a lot of fun. We had all sorts of food that looked like it wasn't food, but then was, and we had candy floss cocktails and chocolate bombs as well. It had been a long, busy, incredible day. The kind of day I hope my kids will remember for the rest of their lives. We finished it off by spending the evening relaxing in the hot tub and the pool. Our final full day was spent in the port of Naples. We took the train to Pompeii, which was easier said than done, saw the ruins that had been buried during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. I'd always thought that Pompeii was right at the bottom of the volcano, but it was miles away. It must have been a hell of an eruption. Back on board, we had our final dinner in the main dining room. The service had been first class all holiday, and the food consistently good. The waiters even put on a little farewell show. After dinner, we went to the 270 Theatre to see The Book. The Book is the big technological show on board and is loosely about a library of stories which come to life in the form of dancers, acrobats and contortionists. The performers were popping out of books, popping out of the floor, popping out of the ceiling. A wonderful way to finish our last evening on board. We woke up the next morning back in Civitavecchia and bid farewell to the ship as we headed into Rome. It had been an absolutely brilliant, slightly exhausting but very fun holiday, and before we'd even finished disembarking, the kids were asking when the next one was going to be. I need to let you know that if you're thinking of planning a family cruise, you should definitely come speak to me at Cruise Family. I'd love to help. We're the only travel agency in the UK that does nothing but family cruises, so we really know our stuff. Just head to cruisefamily.co.uk. And if you're a family of 5 and you're wondering how on earth to make a cruise work, this next video is for you.